Dr. Faust, Superintendent of NISD, is going to give us a presentation. He is attending a board meeting right now, and I'm told that he will be here post-haste. So when he does come in, we'll bring that and make that available for his presentation. Item 4, citizen participation and comments. Is there anyone in the audience or online that would like to address the City Council? Is there anyone online? All right, there are none. Let's go to item 5, items of community interest. City offices, all city offices will be closed November 28th through the 29th in observance of Thanksgiving. Haslet is hiring. Please visit our website under employment. We have a number of positions open. Tarrant County early voting for November 5th, 2024 election. It started today, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to get out and vote. October 21st through the 25th is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. October 26th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. October 27th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. October 28th through the 31st is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. November the 1st, last day of early voting, is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Here locally, early voting site is the NISD Learning Center on the Schoolhouse Road. Administrative reports. Council, does anyone have any questions with regard to our administrative reports? All right, there are none. Updates on active items, projects, and events. Recaps. Our community park, we have the tennis court security system project. The last item is security gate locks. Some custom parts have been ordered to adequately install those lights, and we expect that, we're hoping, here within about 2 weeks. The Vine speed hump. The council did approve the speed humps, and those are have been ordered, and we expect maybe about the first week of November.
Yeah, they're being shipped now, and so we're expecting to take possession of them this week, and then the first week of November installed.
And installed on first week of November. Blue Mountain Road West reconstruction. Does anybody know about that, or is that? Hey, you know, we got 2 east-west corridors, and you shut one of them down, something's going to happen, especially when small town Texas is surrounded by the 12th largest city in the United States. All roads cross through Haslet. Nonetheless, they're making very good progress, quicker than anyone expected. Excellent job. As I hear, this coming Friday, they're going to start laying asphalt. So that will, you know, we'll open it up sooner if we can.
Mayor Halsey?
Yes.
Just a quick question. I've been asked by several folks, including my wife, if it's going to be on time. If it's going to finish on time. November 1st, I believe, is what the sign says.
No, they're making better progress than what they ever envisioned.
Okay. So we expect it to be done by November 1st?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
FM 156 traffic mitigation, signage and markings. TxDOT has approved. We have their letter of approval to do the signage and markings, and that has to do with the do not block these entrances for these subdivisions up and down 156. So we're clear to go with that. The engineering plans are being finalized this week. We'll go out to bid next week, and so we'll be bringing that to the city council for award to the successful contractor. And that'll happen that soon. I would expect maybe about 6 weeks they might be getting started, 6 or 7 weeks. TxDOT FM 156 overlay. That's what you see. That's been ongoing for quite some time. Patchwork, and then which was started back in November. And, well, no, excuse me, it's supposed to be. What was that date, David? When did they start that whole project?
The original start date?
When did they start?
That was back in March
March.
20.
Well, they are actually putting the final overlay on it now. Looks like they've got quite a bit overlaid. I do appreciate them doing this project at night. Still inconvenient, but better during the day. We don't have a time, particularly when they will be finished, but they're doing well. I do appreciate. Have you noticed how they have reconstructed the approaches that come onto 156? That's a big deal in and of itself. I was very pleased. They're doing a good job. That will help, entering on 156, so you're not at a dead standstill, and here's a semi-truck or somebody else coming down on you at 50 miles an hour. At least you'll be moving. You don't have to stop because of a hump. They've done good work. We appreciate it. Consent agenda, item 8. Council, you have the regular city council meeting minutes for October the 7th.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Motion is made to accept the consent agenda as presented. Is there a second? There is a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Item 9, public hearings, ordinances, and resolutions and action items. 9A is discuss, consider, and act regarding a request for a water bill adjustment from Ms. Brooke Schultz. Is Ms. Schultz with us? Okay. All right, Ms. Schultz is not, but nonetheless, as you can see, Ms. Schultz had a unfortunate leak, and according, standard practice, water department in those kinds of cases, each resident's allowed 1 a year, an adjustment on such situations. The original water bill was $3,817 due to this leak. It's not a residence. It's I think maybe about 5 acres, kind of a pasture for horses. So there was no one living there that could observe this in a timely manner. Nonetheless, the water bill, according to our standard practice, was reduced from $3,800 to around $1,800. And Ms. Schultz is asking council to consider further reduction. Mr. Rogers and Mr. Tucker can expound on any of this if you desire. So it's up to you, council. Questions?
I do have a question. What is the standard reduction that you offer residents, or do they come and ask for a certain reduction?
David, you want to address just in short, Dave or James,
Yeah.
please. You're the water,
Yep.
Public Works water.
So typically, the original policy deals with people with significant history. So we take 3 years of the same month, we average those, and then we subtract that from the current month, and then give them approximately a 30% reduction from that amount. So you get the average, they still have to do that, and then they reduce it by 30% of what that difference is. It's usually fairly helpful in her case. She has no history whatsoever. This was, the account was set up, the very first bill, the very first usage, and it was just a leak that ran at full capacity for a month's time.
So normal reduction in general is 30%, as you can see here in the report. What is offered, put forth, is a 52% reduction.
Yeah, I read Ms. Schultz's situation, and I understand, but I think if we go even further, this is going to set a precedent for other residents. You know, I think we need to set a standard of where, you know, I think this average, 3-year average is good. And then it's only 30%, so we're already going to 52%. So I think it's a very generous offer. And again, I'd hate to set a precedent to allow for anything more than that. If we have something, a system in place, that's what we should use. That is my thought.
Do you want to make a motion? The motion thereby being is no further reduction than what is offered by the Public Works Department.
And just one quick clarification, so on the adjustment, and also what I read through all this, it looks like she does have the option to pay this out in 12 installment payments, correct?
Oh, yes.
That's
I mean,
correct.
that is a option that the council doesn't have to authorize. That's just there for any resident or any resident that's in this situation.
So okay, it's an option.
Yes.
Another comment I would like to make is if we have a situation like this where we don't have a history, I think we should have something in place so in future instances, we know what we're going to go by and we don't have to change it for any resident. I don't know if the rest of the council agrees with that, or if you guys, maybe on the next city council meeting, we put an ordinance to that effect.
Well, that'd be a pretty quick turnaround. We don't turn around ordinances that fast. But I'll tell you what they did in this situation is normally usage is charged on a tier level, meaning, okay, the first, how many gallons? 2,000 gallons is the base charge. Then you use a certain amount above that. That's a higher charge. You go above another tier, and that's a greater charge. So they took this, and the reason explains that 52% reduction. They looked at it as there's no tiers. They took the total usage and applied the base rate of 0.00518 cents per gallon.
How much more, excuse me, how much more of a reduction is she looking for? And is there any valid reason that she's given for the request for additional reduction? Any financial burden or some extenuating circumstance that we should consider for the additional reduction? Because I'm kind of in agreement with him. I don't think you should open Pandora's box, and once you go down that road of continually doing reductions, and that's kind of the precedent that you set. However, every case should be taken in its own merits and its own consideration. So I just didn't know if there was.
So the answer is no, it's just expensive. I'll say just expensive. $1,800 for 1 month's water bill is pretty expensive. But getting essentially a $2,000 reduction off of that bill is pretty significant.
Mayor Halsey, what's the rate we have to pay for that additional water? Is there any?
It's in our fee schedule. It's online.
It's in the fee schedule.
schedule.
It's the fee schedule, like I said. So are we going to get, we're just going to get partially reimbursed as a city. We'll be absorbing this cost.
Yes.
Yes, to
Sorry, so we will get reimbursed by the.
No, we will not get
Okay,
reimbursed.
I got you. Okay.
is the Public Works Department, the Water Department will absorb this cost.
And how long has Ms. Schultz been a resident of Haslet?
She's not a resident of Haslet. She owns property here, and the horses are kept on this property.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm, again, I'll, like the others, so over a 12-month period, this is only, it's not as much as a hit as you would think it'd be over 12 months. If it was all at once, that'd be a different thing. But I guess I'd like to make a motion that no further action for the water bill adjustment be taken.
So no further reduction.
No further reduction from the water bill be taken.
Okay, motion is made to deny any further reduction on this water bill. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Nine B is conduct a public hearing and act to approve an ordinance for the annexation of land owned by Freeman Toyota Group, being a tract of land situated in the Joel M. Lilly Survey, abstract number 979, and the Hopkins Davidson Survey, abstract number 437, an approximately 38.566 acre tract located in Tarrant County, Texas, and generally located on the east side of Harmon Road and on the west side of I-35 southbound frontage, and further it's at the very east end of Blue Mound Road. Blue Mound and Harmon Road intersection. Mr. Schwanke.
Yeah, Mayor Halsey and members of the commission, could you pull up that exhibit, please?
Council, you've already done the commission.
City Council, excuse me. Yeah, this is a little exhibit just to show you the relationship to the city and the ETJ where this tract is located. It's 35W on the east, and to the west is the Caraway subdivision just west of Harmon Road. So it stretches between those two roads, and it'll, for the most part, leave a ETJ to the north and one to the south. And as the mayor said, it's 38.566 acres of land. The Freeman Toyota Group petitioned the city for this annexation, and they plan on moving their dealership to this location. And they have met with us several times over the last 6-7 months, and they're anxious to get going on this. There will be a subsequent zoning case because when it comes into the city, it'll be zoned agricultural. So there will be a zoning case, and just how that looks, we don't know yet. And we have seen some previews of a site plan that they're looking at doing for this site.
Well, I do fully anticipate the zoning will be commercial.
Yes.
All right then.
Mr. Mayor,
Any question? Yes.
sorry, I jumped the gun on that. What does Northwest ISD feel about the dealership getting put right next to an elementary school that's going in there as well? That's kind of somewhat of a contrast or conflict, I would think, with.
No, we didn't ask. Well, we did not ask, but Northwest ISD has been working with Toyota, but there is no access to this dealership from Blue Mound Road or Harmon Road. We did that consciously to prevent that kind of interference.
Because even like from the cut through and that.
There's no cut-through capability. All access to this dealership will be from the frontage road.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes.
Except for maybe some emergency type with a Knox box gate.
Oh, there will be emergency entry on from the backside, but it will be gated and equipped with what is called an opticon system. When emergency vehicles approach that gate, it opens automatically, but only emergency vehicle access.
And one other comment, as part of the annexation process, were required, and we did send a letter to the ISD to, so they could make comments, and they were aware of it.
I have had continuing conversations with NISD on other matters, but mentioning this as well, and they have no objections, to answer your question. But I didn't ask them specifically, how do you feel about this? Okay, but we took all those precautions on the very front end in laying this out. All right then, council, do you have any other questions for Mr. Schwanke? If not, we'll go on to the public hearing.
Being in the ETJ right now, they need this annexed into the city to gain access to water and sewer.
They don't need it for water, they do need it for sewer.
Kind of what I thought.
Question based upon the property north and south is still ETJ, based upon the Senate bill, what was it, 12 or 52, I can't remember, and the ETJ being able to opt out. Is there anything that we need to be looking at for that, those, I mean, it's not pertaining to this and may need to be a future agenda item, but do we need to be looking at ETJ there for the city based upon this property going in, north and south?
The answer is no.
No? Okay.
Just
And that was Senate Bill 2038.
the property to the immediate north of this tract of land has submitted a formal petition to remove itself from the ETJ, and so that's approximately 95 acres. And so that will likely be released from the ETJ before the end of the year, just as obviously not this tract. This tract will be within, assuming you all adopt our the annexation ordinance tonight, will be fully within the corporate boundaries, but the area to its immediate north will, by the end of the year, will likely be not just not in the ETJ, but have no regulations over it.
So the best thing you can do is let's get through this annexation and get them in the arms of the city. Welcome them. So
We'll have the greatest amount of control over the development, over this property.
Say it again?
The city will have the greatest amount of control it can have over the property upon annexation.
And
Right
they
now
have
with the
been-
ETJ, we
yeah.
don't, and if it were to remove itself from the ETJ, there would be even less control.
there's no threat of them moving themselves from the ETJ, period. They don't want to do this in the ETJ, and they can't do this in the ETJ. Freeman Toyota Group has been a very amenable group, and I'm looking forward to that dealership coming to. They're actually relocating. This is not a secondary site or anything. They're relocating the entire dealership and business to Haslet, Texas. And I'll make this comment. When I first met them 9-10 months ago, a number of us, their comment was, we have done our homework and we've looked around all over, and we have determined that Haslet's going to be the next epicenter. That's the words they used. And I knew that. A lot of other people don't realize that. We are. But nonetheless, let's go on to the public hearing. At this time, at 7:26 p.m., I open up this item to a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this matter of annexation? Do we have anybody online who would like to speak to this matter of annexation?
No, sir.
All right, there's none in the audience, there's none online, so I close the public hearing. And item 3 is discussed, consider an act.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the ordinance for the annexation of land owned by Freeman Toyota Group being a tract of land situated the Joel M. Lilly Survey, abstract number 979, and the Hopkins Davidson Survey, abstract number 437, on approximately 38.566 acre tract located in Tarrant County, Texas, and generally located to the east side of Harmon Road and the west side of I-35 southbound frontage road.
I'm going to abbreviate your motion just a little bit. Motion is made to approve the annexation request by Freeman Toyota Group as cited in the agenda. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I second.
There is a second. Any further discussion?
One last question, just about it. Has there been any projections as far as the financial gain that the city will get from annexing them on an
Yeah.
annual basis?
Yes, more than farmland. No, they have not come and said, oh, we're going to bring this amount of money. We don't ask these people that.
Well, they didn't provide any sales projections from their current dealership since they're not,
We didn't ask them
relocating
that.
the current
Now,
one.
the sale of automobiles, no one gets sales tax except for the state, period. The municipalities don't, the counties don't. And what sales tax is generated is from service department. The service work, the parts sold to do the service work, the oils, lubrications, and things of that nature. We have been told, we haven't seen the final plans, this will be one of the largest service bay dealerships, particularly in North Texas, if not anywhere. So it'll be something unique and state-of-the-art. But no particular values were cited. It was very encouraging.
What about the property taxes?
Who was that? Was that online?
Yes.
If there are, we have a motion and a second on the table. We are past the questions, and that time was during the public hearing. So I have a motion and a second on the table. Council, do you have any further discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. And whoever is online, I will invite you. You can call the mayor's office tomorrow, and I'll be happy to answer any question you may have. 9C, discuss, consider, and act to award the contract for the construction of the Haslet Fire Station FM 156 sanitary sewer extension. And who is doing that presentation? Mr. Rogers.
Mayor and Council. On October the 10th, 2024 at 2 p.m., we held the publicly bid project of the Haslet Fire Station FM 156 sanitary sewer. Those bids were opened and read aloud here at boardroom in this building. We had two bids received on the project. They were $1,795,529.85 and $1,828,576.50. That lowest qualified bidder on this was TELUS Services, Limited Liability Corp. Out of Midland, Texas. The city engineer has already reviewed the bids, and for their projected references, their experience, we checked around on all their references, the projects they have done, and based on the reviews, TELUS Services LLC is capable of completing this job, and we are considering, they think probably somewhere in the range of around 7 months, and start of construction probably mid-November-ish. So the city engineer and myself both recommend this TELUS Services LLC be awarded the contract for the fire station FM 156 sanitary sewer extension project. an amount not to exceed the $1,795,529.85. And of course, this is an underground project, so we always recommend about a 10% of that be added to, for any kind of contingencies we run into, because you never know what's underneath the ground out there. Especially not in Haslet, we don't know how much rock we may find. So that would be 10% of that would be $179,533. Be pre-authorized for the mayor to sign if we have any change orders for that project. And that will also include any kind of necessary testing we run into. Again, we will not know until they get to digging what we've got down there in the ground. So that would make that total of that project with contingencies and all of $1,975,062.85. And we had budgeted $2,089,814, so we got money left off of this one. So we're real proud of that.
So to make you if you're so inclined, council, whoever makes the motion, is to state specifically the award of the contract to TELUS Services LLC for the amount of $1,700 or $1,795,529.85, and also authorize a 10% contingency added to that for a total project of $1,900,000, et cetera.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
I hate to be particular, but you know that 10% you're off by $20.
Up or down?
Down.
Okay, well, increase it to 53 then. We want to make sure our math is right. I didn't check that particular item. Okay, but thank you very much. And for all those, we have several on the council that are numbers people and deal with contracts and materials every day. Very good. Thank you very much. So that will be 53, adding 20, and then that increases the bottom line of $1,975,082.85, correct?
That's what my math says.
All right then. Thank you so much.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to award the contract for the construction of the Haslet Fire Station FM 156 sanitary sewer extension to TELUS Services in the amount of $1,795,529.85, allowing for a 10% contingency of $179,553 for a total amount of $975,082.85.
Motion is made to award the sanitary sewer project to TELUS Services LLC for the amount of $1,795,529.85. Also providing for a 10% contingency of $179,553, making a total project cost of $1,975,082.85. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that.
There is a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, council.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Item 9D is discuss, consider, and act on the Encore permit to install overhead power lines along Blue Mountain Road East. We had this up before you at the last meeting, council, and the where it stood at that time is Encore, as you recall, PUC allows any utility to erect poles and right-of-way And we requested, well, almost a year ago, that they bury it in compliance with our ordinance. Well, PUC overrides that. They said they would be happy to bury the power lines, but the city would have to pay for that cost. And at that time, the way they framed it, it would be $600,000 for the bury cost, plus the cost of any right-of-way or temporary construction easement required. And rightly so, council declined to act on that, and we since went back to Encore the next day and said, you know, you need to get your engineers on that. Do you need additional right-of-way and or temporary construction easement? And they came back and replied via email. The answer is no. They do not. So the bury cost is $600,000. So that is up before you this evening. We need to make a decision, council. We've held their permit for a year and they're ready to go and they don't have to wait around. They've been very cooperative and giving us time to consider this item, but they do need to be given direction at either bury it or they, by default, they put in poles.
Mayor Halsey, I just go back to when we talked about this last time I brought it up to actually get the additional information. And I think a couple concerns that I just wanted to make sure I understand. I understand that if they put the telephones up, everything, it's all on them. It's their cost. We wouldn't have to pay a penny for them to go put the additional lines. I guess my concern, I think was beforehand too, was the aspect of pay $600,000 now to comply with our ordinance, or down the road, 10 years from now, are we going to have to pay $1.5 million to bury it down the road because we are now wanting to widen it and we want to maintain our ordinances too. Again, $1 now versus $1 later.
All right, so I understand your question, and that, David or James, correct me if I'm incorrect, but whether they bury it or put in poles, either way is, let's say they put in poles, then years to come, a decision is made to widen Blue Mountain Road. They would have to pay the cost of relocating those poles. Correct. Now, if it is buried, they would relocate the power, but they would probably utilize poles.
They would have that option, yes.
They would have the option, or we would pay an additional bury cost. Now, you're working on, you know, these are ifs. We have so does that answer your question?
Again, mine was more of a concern that I want to make sure we're making the right decision. Here's the council and that type of thing of something. I thought last time we heard that when we talked, when I asked if we were to bury it now and we would widen it and they would have to move it, I thought we were told, Mr. Rogers, you said that they would have to move it. It would be the cost on them to move it.
Moving it, yes, they had to move it, but they have the option of utilizing poles.
Question for you, since that's a good scenario, it is a big what if, as you said. However, what is the likelihood of Encore actually doing that? Is there any record of them previously when something's been buried, the road gets widened? Are they going to save their cost and then put it onto poles? I mean, do we have any other instances where we can reference and see if this had done this, or? Because I'm kind of with you.
Usually, so like now, if you went out to Westport Parkway is underground. If we widened it to 6 lanes, they would pick up, they would move, it would go back underground again. Because that's the way it was laid originally. That's what it's supposed to be for. And normal cases.
Now, they did that, they did that at their cost.
That was all at their cost.
They didn't, that was their original design.
Okay.
That was the
Now-
original design on that project.
would we have any legal recourse as a city to where if we had lines buried, had to get the road widened, and they chose to go the other route, could we protest and file any action against them saying that that is not what we currently had?
Mr. Page, you got any comment to that? We can always protest. And
We
that's what we've
can.
done on this already.
Yes, and just like we do with tech stuff, we can certainly protest and say, no, that's not what this community wants. But unfortunately, you know, on the totem pole of who has the most power here, it would be Encore, would be ahead of us. And so obviously it would all be dependent on the circumstances and the specifics of the situation. But we could certainly protest it. I don't know how valid or how successful a legal strategy it would be for us to, you know, sue them or anything like that. But typically these type of entities and organizations try to work together in good faith and try not to do anything that would be to the detriment of the other.
So counsel, my advice to you is take it from the approach, if you're so inclined, is to bury it now. Pay the $600,000. With the knowledge that if in the future, the if and when in the future, Blue Mountain Road is widened to the point that they would need to relocate that power line, that you would be paying, the council, the city would pay again to have it buried.
You have to remember, and this is something you always have to think about, if and when that road gets widened, you already got Tri-Counties on the other side, it's already on poles. At that time, chances are, because you're gonna have to run a lighting circuit, street lighting that's not there currently today and all, you're gonna be laying conduit, and lots of conduit in that roadway, in that new road, and you're probably gonna go to Tri-County and go, hey, we're gonna provide this, we want you to move in here, you're gonna set one over here for Encore, we want you moved in here, pick whichever one you want, we're gonna let you have the lights down the middle of the road, and we're gonna install that, and we're gonna put the lights.
So the approach could be is that we design the bank.
Yeah, we end up deciding where they're all gonna go at that point, in the new road right of way. That's very commonly done, so they relay out. Because right now, you've got a hodgepodge of cables, phone cables, TV cables, internet cables, gas pipelines, all kinds of things running down along the road, and they all just squeezed in wherever they could.
So
Whenever you do, you come back and you start with, this is on the outside, this one moves inside of that one, this one moves inside of that one, all the way up to the back of the curb.
So then, part of the design can be, there are utility banks underground for power, for other utilities, internet, whatever it may be. Everybody goes underground. And the city owns that bank. That can be part of the road design.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very common done now, especially more and more where people are trying to get things underground. They wish they had the time and money to do that in some of the states that have get hit and all their power got knocked down. They just ain't got the time for it, but that's the way it is being done in a lot of communities now.
Well, again, and I don't know the history and stuff like that, but we, you know, at one point, City of Haslet made the decision that we want everything buried in the future. And so there's a reason why we did that. We wanted it buried and that too. And I guess the other question that I would actually have, and maybe you'd have experience on this too, is maintenance. If it's underground now, or if it's, we have a lot of lightning storms in these areas. What's above ground is the transistors and that type of thing, and the power, the boxes and that type of thing. If you're underground, do we have a lot more issues when things that we expect,
The easiest way I can tell you is if you look down Westport Parkway, when we're out of power over here, every time we have a storm, do you ever see that area over there out of power? They have been out of power like twice in all the time that I've been here, and it was never for very long. They always kept power going over there.
But what gets hit most often are transformers. Transformers are not installed underground. They are always above grade. But they're in a box, not hanging on a pole. which is they can have that earth grounding to mitigate lightning strikes.
Controlling the easement like you're speaking of, when the design aspect, in essence, puts a firewall against Encore being able to put it back on a pole, if we can control that right there, so you, in essence, make them do that. So I think that's a great idea. And I agree with you. If you're going to bury it like the city standard is, then we should bury the lines. And I know Councilman Morrow was on board with, she was definitely wanting to bury them as well, so.
All right, may I have a motion?
I got a couple more questions.
Yes.
Do we know the cost difference between the poles and burying the line?
Yes, $600,000.
There's no cost to us for the poles.
I'm not talking about just the
The
cost
poles is zero cost to the city.
to the city. I know that, but I mean, obviously, they threw out at 600,000. How do we know that number is accurate? Did they go out and get bids that give you that number, or how did they determine it was 600,000?
They
Obviously, it's
have-
much.
I'm the one that spoke with them with regard to that.
Okay.
Is I asked their engineering, the Encore rep, please give us a cost for the bury. And they probably spent a month and got back with us on this cost to bury. And he said their engineering department said it would cost $600,000. I didn't ask him how he arrived at that number.
Is that not
The
to
reason I
exceed?
ask is because if they have to move it and they have the option to put the poles up or bury it, obviously, if it's much cheaper to put the poles up, that's what they're gonna do. And they're gonna fight having to pay to remove it themselves and bury it again. The other question is, if we have the right of way and it reaches out to, let's say you're gonna expand the road to 2 lanes each way, is there a way to bury it on the very far end where you wouldn't have to move it if it is expanded at that time?
Well, the answer to that is we don't have the right-of-way to expand another 2 lanes. We would have to purchase new right-of-way. So there's nowhere to put it right now, other than the right-of-way that we existingly have.
The lucky part is that happens to be the one section of Blue Mountain Road where we do have additional right-of-way along that roadway. You ever notice our fire hydrants are way back up off the road because it's sitting in the back of the right-of-way, and they will be slightly behind us. So they're gonna be quite a ways out, so in the future, there's always a chance.
But that's at the end of Blue Mountain Road.
Yeah.
It's not up towards the front, because they'll start at 156 and go all the way back.
Problem they have is at 156, we got the right-of-way right there also, but their connection is over here. They're gonna have to go underground, they're gonna have to come over this way and then go that way, into the right-of-way.
Yeah. So what's your question?
The question is if you can move it as far as you can, and you're able to put 2 lanes and then not have to reroute this
They will
line,
go to
then
the
that's what
far
we should do.
outside,
Far outside.
the
Okay.
far outside of our right-of-way.
Because I don't think it's a matter of if this thing's gonna be expanded, it's a matter of when it's gonna happen.
Oh, yeah. But they will go to the far outside. To answer your question,
Okay.
they will go to the far outside of our right-of-way.
Okay, understood.
Any other questions? I can use a motion.
Are we motioning the
We're motioning right now to approve
600,000?
or deny it, one or the other. That's the agenda item. Approve the $600,000 bury cost or deny it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the $600,000 bury cost.
Motion is made to approve the $600,000 Encore bury cost for the power lines on Blue Mountain Road. Is there a second? There is no second, the motion fails. Okay, please speak up.
Second that.
All right, so the motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yes, Mayor Halsey, if we're making this motion for $600,000, I'd like to turn over to Marcy to, if we came up with the $600,000, do we have enough budget
That would be to me.
to you?
And
Okay,
Marcy.
and Marcy,
But
yeah.
yes, we do have sufficient budget, and we would bring you a budget amendment to that effect.
Okay, thank you.
And that would be in November. Any further discussion? I don't know that. None of us at the city know, but they are anxious to start. So I would say within a month. But they did not. Now, this is a design, another design to them, Barry. And so it might be more than a month before they start because they have got to develop their engineering plans and specifications on, to direct their contractors how to execute this. All right. Is there any other discussion? All right, motion is made and seconded to approve the $600,000 Berry cost for the Encore power lines along Blue Mound Road. Call for the vote. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, council. I'm looking for Dr. Faust. Make sure he had snuck in on me here.
Mayor, they just gave an update that he is headed this way. They just were wrapping up the other meeting.
All right, well, good. Hope he gets here before I get to the end of this agenda. Item 9E is discuss, consider, and act on approving the City of Fort Worth revision to the Emergency Medical Services Interlocal Agreement. Council last meeting we approved 3 documents, memorandum of understanding, interlocal agreement for Fort Worth to provide emergency medical services, and a uniform medical ordinance. And this has been these are very detailed documents, but since that time, actually within a day, as Fort Worth submitted after your approval, submitted another change to the interlocal agreement. And we provided you write-ups on that, what the basis of the request from Fort Worth is. Do we have any questions on that? See none. And that's primarily to myself and Chief Mays. Chief Mays is in agreement with it. The mayor is in agreement with it.
I got a question on the termination clause. Does it work both ways where we have also the right to terminate?
Yes.
The city of Haslet does.
Yes. In fact, any member city does. If they don't meet their performances, we have right to terminate.
Okay, thank you.
I guess my one question would be on that is if they say there's no concerns, but if they were to terminate, what options would the city of Haslet have since MedStar would no longer be an option?
If they decided to terminate Haslet,
Yes,
what options would there be for Haslet?
correct.
One would be to run our own ambulance service, and that's a multi-million-dollar operation, which we don't want to go there. The other being...
I guess my question is on the premise that they terminate us for one reason or another, not the aspect we don't want to go there, it's the aspect...
What is our option?
Yeah, they terminate us for some reason, what would our options be?
If there were no other member cities out there to partner with to run an ambulance service, we would do it on our own. That is what would be left. That is why we are going to them. Now, if you read what is the cause of termination, it has to be pretty egregious on our part, very egregious, to cause the city of Fort Worth to select any city and terminate them. But also there is, it's not a one-time occurrence, and, oh, Haslet, you violated this term of the agreement, you're done. No, there's letters, there's notices, there's repetition to this, and a cure period. All of which is listed. Haslet, Texas is a much more responsible member city to ever do anything like that. If there are no other questions or discussion, I would like to entertain a motion, please.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion approving the City of Fort Worth's revision to Emergency Medical Service Interlocal Agreement as presented.
Motion is made to approve City of Fort Worth's revision to the Emergency Medical Services Interlocal Agreement. Is there a second? Someone seconded it. You know, you don't need each other's permission.
No,
Just
we're
do
just
it.
making sure he's not doing, Mr. Mayor, I'll second that.
Okay, it is seconded. Very good. Thank you, council. All right. Any further discussion? And that's Mr. Watkins, Councilman Watkins, that's second. Any further discussion? None. I call for the vote. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Item 9F, discuss, consider, and act to appoint an applicant to serve as a member of the city's boards and commissions. And we have a new applicant is Mr. Mark Vines. Is requested to be appointed to the EDC, which is type A, place 7, alternate 2, which is an alternate position. Is Mr. Vines here this evening? If not, he has gone through his background checks, all the security, and passes with flying colors. And I have spoke with him. He'll make a great addition to the HCEDC board.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Mr. Mark Vines' requested appointment to HEDC Place 7, Alt 2.
Motion is made to appoint Mr. Mark Vines to HCEDC Place 7 Alternate 2 position. Is there a second? There is a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, council. Timing is everything, Dr. Faust. I was just saying, I sure hope he gets here before I get to the end of this agenda. Well, very good. All right, so why don't you get that presentation up and ready? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you the Superintendent of Northwest ISD, Dr. Faust. Thank you.
Yeah, I usually don't get applause, so it's okay, but thank you guys very much. Appreciate the opportunity to present to you. I have an update regarding this. Oh, fantastic. Forward it. Yes, sir. Left and right. Got it. Thank you. Opportunity to present a presentation. I'll try to go fast. I'm going to scare you with, I think we have more than 40 slides, but I'm going to go very expeditiously through those. So first, I want to say thank you guys for serving. You give of yourself and your time and energy and your talents for the town of Haslet, and we appreciate that. You're in the service of the community just like we are as educators. So I wanted to say how much we appreciated that. Also, I wanted to recognize, this is the 75th anniversary of Northwest ISD. 1949 was the year that Northwest was formed. And interestingly, it was 4 school systems that came together: Haslet Public School, Justin, Rome, and Roanoke Public Schools. The idea was they wanted to pool their resources so they could create greater opportunities for students. And I just, top left corner on that slide, there's Haslet Public School. And for 75 years, Northwest ISD has been serving our community, your community, and 13 others with distinction and with a history or a tradition of excellence. So we just wanted to present this to you guys. It's just 75 years of excellence and grateful recognition of the city of Haslet for being a cornerstone in the creation of Northwest ISD as we celebrate 75 years, 1949 to 2024, and hopefully many more. So we just wanted to recognize that and share this with you.
Thank you, Dr. Fowles. Excellent. I need to tell you just, and this is prior to Northwest ISD, is that the property and where Legacy Learning Center sits has had a school on it since 1878.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yes.
1878.
1878.
Wow, that's neat. That's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. As our mayor heads back, I'm just going to transition to a brief overview of the district. Just like you all are elected officials serving the community, we have 7 elected board members. Just many of those Northwest High School grads and have been a part of the district and community for many years. 4 of them married their high school sweetheart from Northwest High School and have been married for 40 plus years, most of them more than 50 years. They're super engaged and plugged into our community and great servants. Our core belief in the district, and the top one, there's 4 really, but kids come first, and it's the filter through which we make all of our decisions. Recently, we had a planning summit come together in the spring of 2023 and came up with these 3 broad goals with 3 priorities each, or 9 priorities. First one being about learning experiences for kids and growing kids, and a strong foundation in literacy and math, tracking academic progress, and preparing our students for life after high school, college, career, or military readiness, preparing them for life. The second strategic goal is about recruiting value and retaining, keeping top talent for kids. And the third goal is kind of, tonight is evidence of that. It's about community engagement, engaging with all of our stakeholders, making sure we have a culture of belonging, that we listen to the voices that are talking to us, and that we have a safe, appropriate learning environment for our students. So you probably know this, but Northwest ISD is a pretty large district geographically. It encompasses 234 square miles. We are the fastest growing district in North Texas. You probably also know that DFW Metroplex is the fastest growing Metroplex in the United States in terms of residential housing and how fast that's growing. So we're the fastest growing in North Texas. DFW is the fastest growing in the United States, if that tells you how quickly we're adding kids and rooftops and businesses. We currently have 35 campuses, 23 elementary schools, 7 middle schools, 3 comprehensive high schools, and Steele Early College High School in Roanoke, and then the Legacy Learning Center, which is the location of former Haslet Elementary School. We serve 14 plus towns or cities. All are part of those towns or cities, and Tarrant, Wise, and Denton County are the 3 counties that we serve. Here's the scary part. With about 32,000 students in our district, we just topped 32,000. We're about a third built out. So in that 234 square miles over the next 30 to 40 years, we will double, triple in size and be north of 90,000 students potentially. So we're a rapidly growing school district. Here's just a map of current and future schools. 25 through 27, for just the next handful of years, we've got 5 more elementary schools to open. We opened Parent Elementary this year, but we've got 5 more elementaries slated to open, an additional middle school and high school number 4. So middle school 8 and high school number 4 in 26 and 27 respectively, plus 4 early childhood centers geographically located in the north, south, east, and western portion of the districts to serve pre-K students. I mentioned again, fastest growing with annual starts. And if you go to the far right 2 columns, VDL or vacant developed lots, over 4,000 ready to be built on, and then 38,000 futures, 38,500 futures. Those are platted, been accepted by some municipality, And so again, we're on the grow. The district has got 63 actively building subdivisions, another 36 future subdivisions. You can see Haslet in that southern portion of the district and the active and future subdivisions in our area. And again, we are on track. In fact, today we hit our projected enrollment mark. So we had until Friday to hit that number of 32,095. It's what we call our snapshot date, the last Friday in October. We hit it today. We'll continue to add students. Most districts hit that peak early in the year and then they decline as the year goes on. But because we're adding a little north of 1,200 students a year, we'll continue to add students throughout the school year. Get to 33, 34, and we're projected to be around 45,000 students. So again, scary thought at how quickly we're growing. A couple of active communities in Haslet, Sweetgrass, total of 505 lots, and I think they are developed at this point, and 41 occupied homes already in Sweetgrass. And this is, again, looking at the photos on the right, this is going, yep. There's so much progress that's been made since June 2024. LaPrelle is another one with 793 total lots. Again, groundwork underway and home construction to begin. That's just adjacent to Laterra, but they're out there doing dirt work. Haslet Elementary opened, the most recent school in Haslet opened in August of 2020 in Laterra. And I shouldn't have said most recent. I forgot, Worthington, our middle school that we opened last school year, 23-24. That was the first year for Worthington, and again, it's in Laterra as well. So VR Eaton, the high school in our area that our kids feed into, is about to undergo a pretty significant renovation. Proposition B in the 2023 bond program approved a home stadium. So essentially on their facility where they have one of their sub-varsity fields, we're going to expand that to a 7,000 seat stadium. So that project will start in 2025, really the end of this school year, and run through 2027. It's also going to have an expansion from 5A capacity, these core capacities for auditorium, cafeteria, and gymnasium. We're adding seats or square feet to all of those core pieces, as Eaton is currently serving over 3,000 students. Again, high school number 4 will open up in 2027 and relieve Eaton. But in the meantime, we've got to get those core capacities up. So the gym, auditorium, and cafeteria are all going to be receiving expansions over the next couple of years. A couple of renderings for you. This is the expansion of the cafeteria that will basically just come out into the courtyard area and add capacity. The gymnasium which will also come out into a courtyard area where we'll add capacity. Here's additional seating for the gym. We're adding several hundred seats. We're trying to get parity among our 3 high schools to have that 6A capacity. We're targeting 2,800 seats for that volleyball, basketball arena. And then Eaton High School Auditorium, the PAC, or Performing Arts Center as we also call it, will push out into that same common area, and we'll add additional seat. And here's a kind of a slice or a cross section that you can see of the seating area where we're adding additional seats and pushing out. By the way, I should have consumed more water today. I can't talk tonight. Normally, my tang's not tangled up quite as bad as it is right now, but it's been a long day. A couple of renderings for the, oh, thank you, there you go. How many people have drank out of this? Just okay, thank you. The stadium, this is coming from the campus, walking across a promenade into the stadium. It's really, and I'll close out, here's a site plan. This is kind of on top of and moved slightly south of an existing field, but just adjacent to the high school. You can see that West Plaza that kids will move and the band will march in, and both the home side and the visitor side for this particular stadium. Each one of our high schools is a little bit different. Northwest High School will have that Northwest Stadium. High School number 4 that's being designed right now off of I-35 and 170 will have its own stadium that's attached, and it's part of the design. These retrofits, each one is unique, so Byron and Eaton's look completely different in concept, but it's really based on the constraints of the site plan and the space we have available. But another rendering Just a neat, that may remind you of some collegiate-type stadiums. Again, the seating is for 7,000 students. So not quite as large as the NISD stadium that we're currently using. It has north of 9,000 students, but enough to host 6A high school events, and they'll also have a track around them. So more information on our construction website. If you ever want to see updates, we will present those to the board on a monthly basis, and then we upload those presentations so you can see the progress of these projects that affect the city of Haslet. Also want to mention to you a Vader election that we have. It's early voting started today. And I want to tell you guys I was very proud that my daughter, who's 23 years old, recently graduated from Texas Tech. She was living with us temporarily. She registered to vote. We actually live in Denton County. And she and I, at 7 o'clock this morning, went and voted. I lost my sticker along the way that says voted, but early voting was today. And I was in one area, and my daughter was right behind me. And just a proud moment that, you know, we're creating American citizens that go out and engage in the system. And so I'm going to share some information with you about the Vader election. It's really important that we maintain our ethics. I cannot advocate for or against a measure or a candidate in a current election. It's against the Texas Ethics Commission, so we won't violate that. But I do want to share some facts with you, information with you, and why the school board called a voter-approved tax rate election. Folks get really excited about the idea of increasing taxes. Do y'all experience that a lot? No, yeah. But again, just information to share with you. So what is the status of school funding in Texas? School districts across the state are struggling with their budgets. Last budget cycle, 23-24, we had a $2.9 million deficit. This budget cycle for 24-25, we have a $15.8 million budget deficit that was approved by the board at the beginning of the year. Of the 76 school districts in our region, in the Fort Worth region, 60% of them approved, their school boards approved a budget deficit or deficit budget this 24-25 budget cycle. So, but it's not just in North Texas, districts in the Houston area, in the Valley, in Central Texas, all over the state are struggling. These are just a few links to news articles. I think it was Cy-Fair that has, which is one of the largest districts in the state, $100 million budget deficit this budget cycle. In the DFW area, Dallas ISD, which has a huge budget, $187 million deficit is what they approved this cycle. So again, it's districts across the state that are struggling. Folks ask, why did the board approve going out for a voter-approved tax rate election, which is an increase to the maintenance and operations tax rate? Two primary reasons: maintain student programs, or the current student to teacher or teacher to student class size ratio, and the other one, be more competitive with our pay. We want to pay faculty and staff better so we can recruit and retain high quality staff. So when folks ask us why, those are the two primary reasons. Oftentimes we hear, cut the fluff out of your budget. If you'll just cut the fluff, you'll have enough money, you can pay teachers more. Actually, we're a human-driven service industry in public education. 80% of our overall budget is payroll and is compensation. It's payroll, compensation and benefits. Under that, contracted services is about 11%. We have two more groups that we are contracted with, our custodial services and our food services management company. So more people. So we're really more, somewhere between 84 and 87% of our budget is people. If we're cutting, it's not going to be paper and computers and electricity that's going to get the job done. It's going to be people that we're going to have to reduce in order to get that budget down. We tell folks all the time that if we want to take a huge chunk out of that $15.8 million deficit, we can add about 3 or 4 teachers per classroom. So in kinder through 4th grade, if you can imagine having 25 or 26 elementary kids above the 22-to-1 required ratio, we can go to 25, 26 kinder through 4th grade, and that'll knock off about $14 million of our budget deficit. So those are decisions that are certainly in play. Districts around us, because we're fast growth, we've been adding kids, which actually has been adding revenue. In many years, that outpaces the deficit. This year, not so much. But districts around us aren't growing as fast as we are. So they've been making these decisions over the last 2 or 3 years. We're just late to the game because we're so fast growth. They've been freezing administration hiring or hiring altogether, freezing staff raises.
increasing those class size ratios, like I mentioned a second ago, looking at low enrollment electives and taking those out of the program, reducing program offerings, expanding, we have a 2-mile bus radius. Some districts have expanded that radius to 3 miles, which is not always popular with families, or going to pay to play for athletics and fine arts. So we're not there yet. We're not saying these are decisions that we would make, but they're ones that districts around us have made over the last couple of years. I mentioned our tax rate. I don't know how similar this is to you all, but we have a maintenance and operations budget, and we have an interest in sinking budget. Folks say all the time, don't add 3 cents to your M&O. We just passed a $2 billion bond program in 2023. Use that money to take care of your M&O. It's actually against the law for us to do that. We cannot use interest in sinking funds or revenue from selling bonds for salaries. Not allowed, against the law. Makes sense. Why would you pay 25 years on debt that you give someone a raise that is in your budget cycle one time? It just wouldn't be financially sound to do that, but it's against the law for us to do that. When you think interest in sinking or bonds, think buildings, replacement cycle, capital projects, construction. That's all we can use that for. It's to pay down the debt. On the maintenance and operations side, this Vader election is requesting 3 additional pennies. The next question we get is, how does that affect me as a homeowner? The district has $1 million houses, and it has $200,000 houses, and everything in between. The average home price is around $500,000, with a 3-cent increase on the maintenance operation tax rate, going from 66 cents to 69 cents. That would equate to $120 annually. And to be clear, not $120 one time, but $120 more each tax year for there on out. And again, it's based on your values. But this is what the tax rate looks like. Again, that $500,000 average home value minus the homestead exemption, you're taxed on $400,000, equates to about $120 a year. That total tax rate with the interest and sinking for the debt and the M&O together is $1.1179. Now, this is an important concept too. Have you guys heard of Robin Hood? Northwest ISD is a property wealthy district, or a Robin Hood or recapture district, where that glass all the way to the right says local taxes and the water's overflowing. Because we have so many houses and so much commercial across that 234 square miles, we actually bring in more money in property tax revenue per student than the state says we're allowed to. So we send a chunk of it back. Local tax dollars go back into the state's general budget. More than $50 million, $52.8 million in the last 4 years of local tax dollars that have gone back to the state budget. And by the way, we had a gigantic surplus at the state. Some of that is because of recapture. Property poor districts on the far left, the state of Texas carries much more of the burden of funding public schools, and because they don't have as many houses or as much commercial, and so the state carries a load there. But we're a property wealthy district. The reason why I bring that up is the 3 pennies that the Board of Trustees called for in the election in maintenance and operation is not subject to recapture. They're called golden pennies, local tax dollars that stay local for our campuses, for our faculty and staff. So we just wanted to point that out. It's an important distinction. Districts, school districts in the state can go out for up to 17 pennies. Not all of them are golden. After these 3 golden pennies, you have copper pennies. 60% of the revenue stays local, 40% of it goes back in recapture. So the district is not pretty conservative school board, and they're not going beyond the golden pennies in this election. Here's our handy dandy calculator. We want folks to be able to figure out, how does this affect me? You move to your home value, it assumes a $100,000 exemption. It tells you roughly, it's an estimate, but roughly what the impact will be for you annually. We just showed that $500,000 value. How do we stack up to neighboring districts, Northwest ISD? Because we have so much property growth, we have been compressed by the state. The state assigns our maintenance and operations tax rate. We're at the very bottom of the districts around us. We're at the compressed lowest possible level. If the election passes in November 5th, I guess, is election day, Super Tuesday, we'll move up to above Denton. Argyle and Grapevine are slightly above us. They also are out for tax rate elections or Vaders this November cycle. So just sharing that. And Fort Worth and Birdville ISD, they have all of those pennies. I mentioned earlier, up to 17 pennies. They've gone out over the years, and they have all the tax rate that they can get from their electorate. So this is what it looks like on the ballot. Again, I can confirm, saw it today. I wish that we could say this is 3 additional pennies, but the state is very specific on what the ballot language has to be, so it just says $1.1179, which represents a 4.29% increase. The other interesting thing I'd close out with is it says it'll raise 13.8 million in revenue. We think it's gonna be closer to 16 million. Do y'all remember what budget deficit I told you we had for this budget cycle? Yeah, 15.8. So if this passes in November for the 24-25 budget cycle, we think we're slightly better than flush. So that's we had to use last year's property values to get that data point. Again, that's what's required by law. So I'll stop there. Any questions you guys have about 75-year history? I learned something new, by the way, Mayor. Thank you for that information about that school site. And we also share with you an update about the district and our fast growth, and of course, later questions.
Well, I've got a comment that I know that no one is excited to hear that we're only a third built out.
Yes, sir, yeah. It's
That is,
hard to imagine.
they'll scare people off, literally.
Again, 30, 40 years into the future, I wish it was my problem 30 years from now, but I doubt quite seriously that I'll be dealing with it 30 to 40 years from now. But yes, sir.
But we hope all that growth is up north.
I wish that were true. As you know, the density, you watch the roads being developed and it's coming in from the southern portion. Uniquely, there's development in the south, there's development in the north. If you go out west into Wise County and off 3433, it's going nuts over there. Reunion is projected to be 7,000 homes. Bluestem's right across the street.
Right.
Again, we have over 100 current and near-term developments happening all over the district. The east is a little more built out and there's less space in the east, but north, south, and west, there's a lot coming our way.
Well, we know that, the presentation was very good, it's very comprehensive. Good job.
Thank you. Sorry I couldn't talk. Thank you for the water.
So, real quick now.
Yes, sir.
My question is, I understand this, we go through budgets every year. It's really easy to say, 3 cents, we do it here, it's just little pennies on the dollar, but hey, when you look at it, couple things, so it comes down to it's a 4% increase. So any of your teachers in the district that live in the district, my guess is you just wiped out any COLA they just received. And I'll preface this with my wife did teach and coach in NISD for 13 years. Retired from there, worked at Northwest School District, high school, and over at Skillet. So I'm versed in the school district. So these teachers, you just wiped out their COLA for 1, maybe 2 years, with just the 3 pennies, which is unfortunate because teachers usually get 2 to 3% COLA if they're lucky. The second part is, we look at 3%. Yes, I can afford that. Other people say, yeah, we can take this on. But then you get to the business side of the world, and here in the news media and articles come out where you got Bell Helicopter moving in the building. They're going to give them a 10-year tax abatement with 5 years of 0 tax dollars coming to the school district. And that's the part that the average citizen in the city of Haslet doesn't see.
Yeah.
They hear what you're saying in the information. I got the flyer card from NISD that came out that help us vote, help us increase the school district. Y'all didn't send a flyer out saying, we're giving these businesses these tax abatements. We need you to support us with these tax abatements. That's the side of it that when people do find out, it gets a little irritating.
Yeah.
You're giving Bell, you're offering them, because I don't know if the deal's been signed or not. 5 years, move in free of charge. So what are they doing for the school district that justifies free check?
Yeah, a couple things there. The devil's in the details. Going back to the scenario that we gave as an example, that 500,000, that's an additional $120 per year. So when we give a 2% raise, there you go. Siri is paying attention. It's kind of scary, big brother. But that $120, our raise this last cycle, but per teacher, what was the minimum on? We gave 1,399. Now, here's the difficult thing. But for those teachers that have the employee, spouse, and family, they made a handful of dollars more because the increase in the insurance premiums wiped out their 2% midpoint raise. So from that standpoint, we're battling that with inflation and what our faculty and staff are dealing with inflation, the cost of insurance premiums and all those different things. But that $120 a month, if they're a homeowner, is considerably, $120 a year, sorry. $120 a year if they're a homeowner is considerably less than that 2% raise. But we went $5.8 million into deficit to give that 2% raise that wasn't enough in the first place. The flip side, the other thing I wanted to mention was the tax abatement. As companies move in, they bring in with them families, and families want to know what the school system's like, or want to live in that school district, or live in an adjacent school district. Obviously, we want to offer a top product for our communities as far as the educational product. If they bring families to us, that's additional students, that's additional revenues, so that's actually a good thing for us. That's the only way we get additional revenues, if we get additional students. So we think of that as a good thing. The other thing we also have are opportunities for our students. Oftentimes when corporations move in and we have an agreement, some sort of tax abatement, there's also a partnership offered on internships for our students. So if you can imagine students of ours in the STEM Academy that are future engineers going and working at Bell Textron an internship, that's high value. I can't really put a dollar amount on that. But the other flip side is so much of that additional revenue that is offered in a tax abatement most likely would be calculated or going back to the state in recapture. If those values come in, again, our values are outpacing the number of students, and so the state says, we're going to recapture that $52.8 million over 4 years. A ton of that, if it was on the tax rolls, would be going to the state. I can't tell you down to the penny, but so the abatement gets the company here, gets families moving into our area, additional kids, internship opportunities, and yes, we get 50% of the value, but some of that would have been going for recapture most likely. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
The one kind of follow-on question to that. Currently with the financing into recapture, does the state currently owe NISD any money from like the prior year recapture in the last time span? If we give them some money, and do they owe us any chunk of money to come back in the cost?
not that I'm aware of. When we're in that recapture mode, the kind of the best we get is down to zero or no recapture, and we're collecting the values that they think we should be collecting. Can you think of anything, Mr.?
There's nothing where we owe, with the state of
That's our chief financial officer, Jonathan Pasusic. So yeah, we generally owe them. Yes, sir.
Sir, I did have one question for you in regards to the Robin Hood scenario. My full disclosure, my wife is a teacher at Haslet Elementary, and my sister's a teacher at Byron Nelson as well. So I see what they go through, and I see, in retrospect, what they're paid compensation-wise into the parenting that they're having to do with other people's children, to put it politely. How do we go about getting that percentage that the state mandates the district is only allowed to garnish for, the tax dollars that are in, to a higher amount? Now, does that, I'm assuming since it's state regulated, it's a statewide effect, so it would have to be a statewide vote, but are there any kind of lobbyists or other kind of organizations that are pushing? Because our teachers are getting screwed over, to be blunt with you. I mean, they really are. And I'm not blaming you, of course. I know you're fighting for them, but I kind of echo Mr. Horak's opinion when it comes to, the teachers are getting the raw end of the deal, and it's not fair considering that they're cultivating the next generation of our society. So you think that you would want to take the approach of putting the most into our next generation? I just was curious from on accord, what kind of recourse we have, or is there anybody even fighting for them to get that going?
I was going to make a comment along those lines. Is there any legislative action to try to influence legislative change with regard to Robin Hood? If they think if the state our state representatives. Oh, there's a good, you hear about democracy, we have a representative democracy. You're voting on representatives. Vote on a representative that carries the message to the House. But anyway, is there any efforts, and this is going to what you're saying, to change legislation?
Yep.
And who are they?
Yeah, there are folks that are interested in looking at recapture. One way that you can benefit all districts sort of uniformly is increase the basic allotment. So that's the dollar amount per kid that you get for every student enrolled. Last time they did that was 2019. They bumped it $1,000 to match inflation. It's been about a decade since there's been a significant increase. That made a huge difference, but we poured all that money into pay raises to teachers. I don't know if you remember in 2019 where teachers got around 5% raise, which not enough, but that's where we poured the money. But we haven't had an inflationary adjustment since 2019. So we should be at around $7,500 to $7,700 in basic allotment to match the 20% inflation, but we haven't gotten it. This budget cycle, so we're finishing up year one of this biennium, and they're getting ready to come back, or the legislature's getting ready to come back, year two. The state sat on $4 billion that were approved in the budget, but they weren't assigned through a bill to public education. So $4 billion in the state budget was assigned that didn't get distributed to school districts because the governor, his words were something along the lines of, we're gonna hold staff raises as a carrot to approve vouchers. Vouchers didn't get approved, therefore teachers didn't get the additional revenue. School districts didn't get the $4 billion. What's gonna happen to that $4 billion? It's gonna go back into the budget surplus for the next biennium. So we are advocating, I've got meetings every week with legislators. We have a committee in the district of parents and community members and faculty and staff that are talking about legislating this cycle and advocating for $7,500 basic allotment so that we can pay our teachers, our faculty and staff better. We're pushing hard on, if anyone will listen, to reducing or eliminating recapture and funding public schools a different way. So I didn't realize when I became superintendent, which is all about teaching and coaching and fine arts and all those different, that's what I thought it was. Very much political advocacy. That's what it's become in the last 5 to 10 years, and we feel like I'm on a three-front fight with different entities in trying to protect and better fund our public schools for our kids.
Well, if you'll push the message down about the legislative efforts, I can speak to Haslet only, not the rest of the world out there, but there are many people in Haslet as citizens that will write and or call their representatives and their senators. But we don't know what efforts you're making. So keep us informed on that, if you would, please. And we can get some supportive action towards that.
Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate that very much.
Well, very good.
I got a quick question. Are you experiencing high turnover rate, and how does the teacher pay now for Northwest stack up against other districts with a similar size?
Yes, sir. I haven't seen UEA this cycle, but we just made some pretty significant adjustments to our teacher pay scale. We finally went above $60,000 for a 0-year teacher. We adjusted our 10, 15, and 20 because we were out of market. So we think we're right there in the market in the top 10 to 15 in this DFW area in our region. We are experiencing high turnover. Districts all over the state, really all over the country, it is really hard to keep quality folks. That's why you want to be competitive with salaries, but it's why we pay a ton of attention to morale, because we've got teachers functioning in loco parentis in absence of parents, dealing with behaviors that 10 years ago they were aberrations. Now they're a norm. And so teachers are getting burned out left and right in public education, again, all over the United States. And that value that we experienced when we were younger, if a teacher was on a pedestal and they walked on water, that seems to have evaporated, right? Just pre-pandemic to now, we're really pushing hard for our community to support us in valuing our teachers and supporting them so that they can do for kids all day long, because it's a tough job.
That begs one other comment from me anyway. Along with legislative action, that's one effort. But what you just talked about is that behavior that's allowed It's allowed in the school. That is what is the norm today, but 10 years ago was an aberration. Let's focus on that. Make it an aberration today. And it's time. It's way past time.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Why should good students pay the price of this distraction over here? It happens in every classroom. I volunteered one time as a teacher. I'll never, ever do that again.
And you have a profound respect for those educators that do it all day, every day.
Well, it's, you know, it's what we as adults allow to occur. Bottom line, we need to take responsibility, and we've let it go.
Yeah, an interesting point is we really need the support of our community and parents. You'd be surprised that teacher sends home a note about a child's behavior, and the parent is attacking the teacher via email, social media, and every which way you can think of, because they didn't like what the teacher had to say about their kid's behavior that day. So it's not exactly the same as it was when I was in school, and
Right.
you got in trouble at school, and then you got home, you got twice the licks at home, and the times have changed a bit. And again, seems like education's under attack from a lot of different.
But that's also legislative action in and of itself. There's a financial arm. There's another arm. And there's probably several others, but it's a multi-pronged attack on what's acceptable behavior. If you want a public education, here's the standard. Otherwise, go home.
We've got an incredible group of faculty and staff teachers that really care about kids. And we're not a perfect organization. If you ever find a perfect church, don't join it, right? You'll mess it up. But so we got a bunch of humans in our organization, but they work really, really hard for our kids. We're going to just keep trying to get better a little bit every day, and that's all we can do is work.
Well, we thank you for the effort.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good evening and a safe drive home. Well, that brought up some lively, it will bring up lively discussion. All right, council, next item is executive session. The city council reserves the right to adjourn into executive session during the course of the meeting to seek legal advice from its attorney regarding any item on the posted agenda as authorized by Section 551071 of the Texas Government Code. Additionally, pursuant to provision of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, City Council may adjourn in executive session in accordance with the authority contained in, again, 551071, particularly Haslet Parkway, and Section 551.072, NISD. So I will call a, what's the word I'm looking for? Recess. There we are. That ought to come. We just got through talking about school. How about that? All right. Recess the open meeting. It is 8:40 p.m. and I will meet you in the boardroom in 10 minutes at 8:50 p.m.
Money gets
kids doing this evening? Good? Just good, not terrific? You need to work on it.
I'm upset now. It's been a long day. That upsets me. It just bothers, because I have, I have two grandchildren that are out of school. But I've seen what education has offered them. Not always positive thinking. And I have two that are still in school, and I'll tell you what, I said, when you see kids going to school in pajama pants and hoodies, and like, looking like they rolled out of bed, what kind of attitude do you expect to have when they're in school? I'm sorry, I mean, it starts with the way the whole thing around. And maybe parents are just too busy to pay attention to the kids, I swear. Oh, yeah? Good to see you. Oh, boy. That'll be fun. What are you doing?
Giving a talk to second graders on planning. They invited me up there.
You know, I thought about, you know, there's a lot of several of our friends who were teachers are substituting. And I thought, you know, I'm retired. I could actually go and I could substitute. And then I thought, there's no way. There's no way.
excuse me, the time is 10:28 PM. All the council are present, and we are resuming the open session for this October 21st meeting. There is no action to be taken after the executive session. Future agenda items, you can see these, you can read them for yourselves. Is there any agenda items to put on there that you have yourselves? If there is none, I will go to item 13 as adjourned. May I have a motion?
Mayor Halsey, I move to adjourn.
Motion's made to adjourn. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I'll second.
There is a second. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you, council.